Good afternoon and welcome to another boring video. Today is another nice day and we might as well take advantage of it. And a couple of my viewers, as a matter of fact more than a few, suggested that I should have the air cleaner on this generator before making final adjustments. So we're going to do that, and we're also going to do a load on here. This is, well, it says 1,000 watt if you go by this, but it's not 1,000 watt. It's 750 watts continuous. This heater has a 750 watt high and a 350 watt low setting on it. So we're going to run this at 350 watts, which is half the capacity of the generator after it warms up, and then we'll make the adjustment. I'm also going to monitor the voltage. Now I could get one of my other meters out and measure the frequency, which is actually very, very important. This meter won't read frequency to get it set at 60 cycles. But before we do anything, I want to put the filter back on. Now there is no gasket on here. Leastwise, there wasn't when I first got the generator. Whether there's supposed to be one or not, that I don't know. Awkward here. I think we can do it. Of course, I never think of getting my reading glasses. And I can do it, I think, without that. Hose in the back, the ventilation hose to the crankcase. The reason I've been running this with this off is so I can see when the choke is open, because I don't remember which way this goes. And you're so close to the muffler, your fingers always get burnt on it all the time. So this is open. Turning the choke towards the muffler counterclockwise opens it, and clockwise closes it. There's no oil in this, but it should be all right. I'm not sure how this goes, but this goes on top of this. I do know that. That's the way it was when I got it. But the question whether it goes this way or this way is a good question. And I don't know what this is supposed to be for, but there's no indication. I don't think it really matters, but I probably will put it this way. And then the cover has a air intake at the bottom. So that will just hook in here. Go down like that. Okay. Not gonna come out. Alright, so what I am going to do now is back the camera up just a little bit here. Alright, I have two of my meters here, my Fluke 73, which I've had for many years, and another meter here, Radio Shack. This will not read frequency, but this will. But I don't have the specs on this meter. I have another meter that will read true RMS, but it also has a function for reading frequencies. And I looked at the specs on that, and it mentions nothing about putting line voltage in it. So, in other words, when you're set on the frequency mode of the meter, in this case, this will read frequency as well as all the other ranges of voltage. But when you got it in the frequency mode, I don't dare put it into the generator, because I don't know if when it's in the frequency mode whether you're going to blow the meter out or blow that function out. I can't risk ruining a meter. I have a kilowatt meter, but it's in the house. But I don't dare plug this into 120 volts coming out of that generator set in the frequency mode. I don't have the specs on this Radio Shack. This is a meter I had for many years, to find out if it'll handle 120 volts when it's set into frequency mode, which is over here. Okay. You may not be able to see that, I don't know, but anyways, I can't take a chance and blow the meter out. So we're gonna set it for line voltage, and it'll read probably about 130 volts unloaded, and we can adjust it to 120 with that heater on there. But the problem is we don't know what the frequency is. What you want to do is to set the generator speed of the engine, the idle adjustment, which my viewers are telling me it's the one with the spring on it, down to 60 cycles. And it can be 59 or 61, that's okay. It could be in that ballpark area. Rather than to set it for the voltage. So I'm not able to do that. But that could be done in the future. I'll have to just get my kilowatt meter out. So what I'm going to do now instead is to set my meter on the 200 volt scale. We won't use the fluke. Now this is my test thing, and I didn't have a white, when I made this up quite a few months ago, I didn't have a white rubber. So it's not negative and positive, it's supposed to be black and white, but I didn't have a white rubber boot. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to set it like this. What I got to do is I got to bring this over here so I can read it, because I'm going to be doing the adjustment. Alright, so we're going to start it now. The heater is not plugged in, and it will not get plugged in until the generator is running for about 5 minutes, which I won't record the whole entire thing running at 5 minutes. So the only thing that's loading, if you can call it that, is the digital meter, and that represents virtually no load at all. So we never think of bringing my reading glasses out. Okay, the switch is on here. Alright, here we go. We get this. Heater's not plugged in, as I said, it's not plugged in. Only the extension cord, and we'll just lay that there to keep the cords from touching. Here we go. Choke is on. We're getting 139 volts. So we're way too high. I don't know if you can see that. We're going to let this run for a while, 5 minutes off camera. Then we're going to adjust the voltage down to 125 volts, and then we're going to throw the heater on. And we'll see what that does. And if it pulls it down too much, we will make more adjustments. However, I have to adjust the mixture screw before I do any of this. And that won't be done until 5 minutes of running. Some of my viewers have given me some good advice about this. Unfortunately, I didn't print it out and bring it out here, so I'm trying to remember by memory, and my memory's very poor. But the choke is not fully opened yet. But I'm going to do that now, and then I'm going to let it run, like I say, longer off camera before I do any adjustments. I'm going to open the choke all the way now, though. Well, it was doing good, and now it's surging. You can see I didn't touch it. It was running nice and smooth when I opened that choke. So we're going to adjust the mixture screw now. I think it's running long enough for me to do that. Again, I will not put the heater on it just yet. It's putting out between 137 and 140 volts, and it's probably varying even more than that with that surging. I had to turn the screw out. The one that's recessed flush to the body or a little bit in to the body, the mixture screw, I had to turn that out about one full turn. Not surging now. So we'll check the line voltage. $138. So we're going to drop the idle down to about 125. To turn it almost all the way in, it started speeding up. It's almost all the way out and ready to fall out of the hole. But it's reading about 139 volts right now. So it doesn't seem, that one with the spring on it don't seem to do anything as far as reduce the speed. Maybe there's another adjustment for doing that. I don't know. difference. That screw don't make any difference whatsoever. But at least I got the mixture right. So now I think it's time to put the load on it for the from the electric heater. And the electric heater is set on low setting, which is 350 watts, which is half the rating of this 750 watt generator. I just turned the heating element on in the heater because that's also a fan. $129 volts right now under a 350 watt load. Okay, I'm going to flip it up to full power here, which is 750 watts. I'm going to put it up to the high setting now. $112 to 113 volts. That's probably a little too much for it. We're going to drop it down to 350 watts. About 130 volts. I cannot get that engine to run any slower than that. Now, primarily this will be used for not running the house. It's way too small. This will be used for portable use only for very small things. I didn't realize this thing was on digital zoom all the while. Alright, that's not bad, but if I turn the load off altogether, about 139 volts. This here is the mixture screw from what I was told, and this is the idle. There is no other adjustment here. The choke is all the way open. And there's no more surging, so I'm very happy with it. We'll get back over here where you can hear me better without me shouting. Now, my experience, which isn't all that much with generators, is unloaded, they will put out about 135 volts. This Coleman down here, 1850 watts, which is the one I got before I got the Champion, unloaded will be higher, not too much higher than when it's loaded. It's probably about 127 volts, maybe a little, about 130 unloaded. My Champion, which runs the house, 3,500 watts, 4,000 surge, runs everything in the house, 15,000 BTU air conditioner, television, the lights, and everything else, which you've seen on my videos. Unloaded would be 120 volts right on the money. Loaded, 120 volts right on the money, as long as you put about a 50% load on it. But we don't have a well pump, so it's not, the park supplies water, so it's only used for lighting and stuff like that. So, but these smaller generators like that, in my experience, I still got it, a 1,200 watt Generac. You've seen it on my earlier videos trying to start it one year. Unloaded, it's about 135 volts, about like this. So these smaller ones like this are going to put out a lot of voltage unloaded. But the better ones like the Champion and stuff like that I got, and even the Coleman, which isn't too bad, but is nowhere near as good as the Champion, has a better voltage, and of course the Champion has a voltage regulator in it anyways. So that's what we're putting out unloaded. So that's a little high. If you was to run a few light bulbs, you'd probably burn them out. So let's throw the load back on it again. On the back is the on-off switch. This is the setting for high and low, 750 watts, 350. So it's on 350. We throw the whole thing on at 350 watts, which is half the rating of this generator. I think we're there. It's no more surging, and it's as good as it gets, I believe. I'm very happy with it. Now, if I ever need to pump water out of the brook in an emergency, I have a Harbor Freight that I paid $69 for 4 or 5 years ago, I guess, that will pump water out of the brook, and I demonstrated that in one of my earlier videos, but the electric pump was plugged into an extension cord. So if I need to, it'll run that. It's kind of dark in here, but you won't be able to see too much. If you remember this rig I made up on a piece of 2x8, made this carrying rig with a PVC handle with a funnel so you can prime it. You take this off, it's only hand screwed in. You put the water in here, you prime the pump, you put a garden hose on here, and you put another garden hose on the output, and you can take water out of the brook. I have a hose with a strainer on the end of it, you drop in the brook. So this pump here will run very well on that little generator. It makes it easier than lugging the big heavy Coleman over there. So if I'm out of power and I need water in a pinch, I can do that. Of course, if it's in the middle of winter and it's 20 degrees out or something like that, it'll be kind of difficult to do that because everything will probably freeze up. But anyways, so that's primarily why I would use this small generator. Some of you have asked, why do I need it? Well, there's a good reason right there. Alright, that's it on this video. You can hear how nice and smooth it's running, no surging. I did not turn in the mixture screw and back it out 2 turns or whatever. One of my viewers told me, John, I can't remember his last name, but he sure gave me a huge long post about burying exhaust underground. I have no idea what he was talking about. But this is not used for residential use. I have my Champion exhausted to the outside here, 25 feet from the house. So that's what supplies the house. The Coleman that I showed you in the shed was the one I used to run the house on, but it was very limited, but it did keep the refrigerator going, a few lights, and the TV, but it wasn't very stable. The Champion is very stable. All right. We'll take the load off. Let it run for about a minute. And we'll call it a day. I want to thank some of my viewers, including John. Like I say, I can't remember his last name. I'm at a disadvantage because I don't write things down. I try to go from memory. Suggested how to set the mixture on that, but that's okay. It's done. And you can hear it's no longer surging. I just can't get the voltage down any lower. And I don't want to take a chance to try to reach frequency on this, because I don't want to take a chance to put 137 volts when it's set on frequency and blow the meter out. So next time if I want to do that, I'll just bring out the kilowatt meter that I have in the house. But I'm not going to be able to get this engine down any slower. It's just not going to happen. There was no other adjustments here. Let me shut this off. There is no other adjustments here, as you can plainly see. This is turned almost all the way out. Made no difference. When I turned it almost all the way in, it speeded up. So I'm very happy with it. There's not a problem. This is your governor. That's working good. There's no other adjustment on that. I think what these are, you know, they're for portable use, probably to run small tools, you know, like a small electric drill or something. Not something that, not a big skill saw or anything like that, because the surge, it just wouldn't do it, especially when you're cutting through wood. So when you're testing a power tool on a generator that's small, especially, the rating of the motor, to my knowledge, and I could be wrong, but I don't think I am, the rating of a drill or a skill saw is unloaded. It's going to be a lot higher when you're cutting into wood or when you're drilling into something. So I can put my skill saw on this, and the initial surge will be hard on this little generator. I have a small, I think it's a 5.5 inch saw. You see me use it many times, and it runs fine on this. But if I try to cut wood, it probably wouldn't. It's rated for 4.5 amps, but that's the amperage of the motor before it is loaded down with cutting wood or whatever it's supposed to be doing. So that's how you check it. You got to test these tools under load. Okay, that's it. That's it, folks. That's the end of the saga of this generator. I'm very happy with it. And once again, Bobby did a great job on rebuilding this carburetor. We'll let this muffler cool down before I bring this into the shed.